Courtney Enders here with Flow Racing, and we are getting to know yet another driver of the Pro Superstar Shootout, the one and only. Ron Capps has invited us to his shop, so let's go take a look.
Here at DSR, one cool thing about the access that we have to a chassis shop that's right here in the shop, you literally roll our car down to any work we want done on a chassis or a brand new chassis. The machines that they have here, cylinder heads, a lot of parts, we're still running a lot of the DSR parts. So to get something made, to get something done on the big machines, again, it's 300 feet to walk down and get something made. A lot of really cool things that we can just get done in a matter of minutes, where it might take a team planning, putting a car in a trailer, take it over somewhere, or parts and things like that. So
I think a lot of people who watch drag racing don't realize how much on the back end of what goes on and what these shops have grown into, because it's almost like you bring your car, you race. All the winning is done here, as we say.
Yeah,
you know?
The dyno room here. This is the kind of stuff, I mean, look at that. Look at the engine with the supercharger on it. How many places can you go where you see that kind of dyno? It's pretty cool. And then you come over here, and we have another dyno.
Oh, awesome.
And it smells new. Obviously, this is a brand new room.
It does smell new. How important with your program is it to have this set up like you have at the racetrack? I know muscle memory for these guys and everything, but go to a smaller shop or a mom and pop team where everything's different at the racetrack than it is here. Is that important to your guys? It
is. You'll see if you look around, Antron's guys were next to us here. When you come in on an off weekend, it looks like a pit area at the racetrack. And it's set up that same way. Everything's plugged in. You can see the car is sitting exactly where it would. You know, you see NASCAR guys do their practice of their pit stops and all that, but to have a car, if they want to bring a new guy in and we got to hire him and we want to mock up an in-between thrash, they can do that, because the car, the trailer, everything, the pit area is exactly like it is at the racetrack.
You learn the dance and where you need to be and when with whom. Let's take a step into your pit area.
Check it out.
Yeah. So how many bodies do you have at any given time?
Well, one cool thing about signing up with Toyota like I did last year was the availability, first of all, of brand new stuff. State-of-the-art Toyota GR Supra bodies. We have 2 more coming this year leading into 2024. I was always a driver before becoming an owner, so I never noticed really what kind of went on in between off seasons. I would show up to do photo shoots and the guys would have the cars ready, and you know, you're like, oh, it looks like last year. Well, now I know new bodies coming in, inventory, and the fact that we, knock on wood, didn't hurt a lot of stuff body-wise last year. I'm looking over at the stuff that we have, and it's going to be inventoried as our backups, because they're only 2023s.
It is cool that you've got this whole different mentality. I know at the racetrack, being a driver is one thing, but then putting on that team owner hat, same thing here. How much of your role has changed at the shop now that you're the big guy?
It's still weird. One of my guys I walked in this morning, he's like, hey boss, and it's still weird to me. Yeah. I really have a lot more respect for the owner drivers in our sport that have jumped in and concentrated on the driving part and not thought about the business. I don't know how they jump in the car and they don't worry about invoices and bills and things going on in their world. So I have a lot of respect. I'm trying to learn, really, still.
I think you'll be all right. I think you'll be all right. So show me around your pit. What you got here, where you guys work?
This is last year's car that we ended the season with. We're going to show up at the Pro Superstar event with what we had last year, and unload and make a couple runs, and then we're going to go into test mode. It's going to be interesting because there's so much money and so much going on for that event. Teams are going to be trying to test new things. There's going to be new cars, but at the same time,
but you're at a race.
What do you do? Do you bring out an old car that you know was good in Pomona when we ended the season? Because that's a lot of dough, and there's going to be a lot of fans tuned into Flow to watch that event, and I don't want to suck. So to know that we have the car that unloaded from Pomona makes me more comfortable. So maybe he'll leave it alone and we'll just unload it for the race, and we'll test some other things on a new car. I don't know yet. If you want to step here and see sort of what goes on in our trailer, 2 cars up above. Our main car and our spare car go up above here. The fans at the track, they see the back door go down, the cars go up. Well, we usually put 2 cars in. A lot of parts get put together here, pistons and rods normally right here. He'll put the racks together. On any given weekend, you know, there's a short block there that's probably $35,000 or $40,000 worth of
just sitting there.
Not even cylinder heads on it yet. There's a couple more I think in here. Well, engines, I thought it was rear ends, but there you go. It's got ignition on it. that's ready to go.
And then the brain trust, that's what we call ours in there.
Yeah, so Guido, if you want to come up,
We're going to
check
go
it out.
bother Guido.
Yeah. Any tall people, watch your head right here.
Tall people aren't allowed.
Is this where the smart people live?
This is the war
where
room.
The brain cramps come from.
The brain cramps come from. So you're at racetrack in here. You got the same setup, no
Yep.
matter where you're at.
No.
That is pretty cool.
We have an office here, but I spend 90% of the time here, close to the guys, what's happening, easier for them to question.
When you walk in on a race weekend, there's 4 or 5 more monitors loaded up here. And then we have an assistant crew chief that works here with him, looking at data. And this is where all this stuff happens. They got a weather station that we monitor. I don't know how much you've gone over it with what you've done and who you've talked to, but our weather stations with the drag racers are pretty intense.
Yeah.
It's not humidity. I mean, they break it down to pieces of water, particles of water per piece of air. And it's crazy how meticulous these crew
And every
chiefs
bit
are.
of that determines what you do.
Like for an R tune-up, 3 water grains is worth a tenth of tune-up. A degree is a tenth of tune-up. 30 feet is 10th of tune-up in our program. On the starting line, you'll see a lot of crew chiefs have pagers, or they'll use their smartphones, and you'll get pages by the minute. Funny cars will adjust some nitro to keep the tune-up number you want. 3/10 of tune-up will hurt the engine if you miss it by it. So think of 3 water grain and a degree variation, and you're nicking the motor. So they're pretty sensitive.
And the weather guys can't predict when it's going to rain, but y'all got that.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a good side job.
Yeah, no
The weather
kidding.
guy.
I love it. So when you guys are not working and you're here at the shop, what kind of shenanigans you guys get into?
Nothing too crazy. I'm getting older and I'm getting a little wiser. You would ask me 10 years ago, it would have
Very
been...
different answer.
Yeah, very different. So our guys are a rare breed. They stay at the track and barbecue together at every race, every Friday night when it's over. They don't go back and rush to the hotel and go out. They stay, let traffic get out, and they barbecue. It's really cool. As you know, being out there, there's not a lot of teams that want to hang out when they're not at the track. It's like when they room together, they live together on the road. Some of them just get tired of each other, and when they get away from the track, it's like, scatter and go do their own thing. And our guys are always doing stuff together. It blows me away. So Guido put together a slot car set, and when he told me he was going to do it, I didn't imagine it was going to be this cool. He went online, bought all these 1970 old slot car walls, and he has the regular road race track, and then he's got the Auto World slot car track. He's got it set up so the drag strip runs down. It's got a tree that comes down. It'll go down and the power stops at the finish line, and the car drives itself back as a return road and comes right back to
in
here.
In front of all these 1984 fans.
Yeah. Well, we walked in this morning, there were like 30 people crowded around. The guys were all racing, so I'm sure there'll be some drinking later and some bracket racing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think that team camaraderie is a
We even
huge
got
thing.
an old Steve Evans, I'm not even sure how this thing works. Let's try it here. Hello? Oh. Attention in the pits. Attention in the pits. Ellen Reinhardt, right?
As I'm looking around this shop, we've got this cool view of what you see day to day. This kind of stuff right here, right in front of us.
Oh, yeah. That
Funny
is.
Car World Champion with your name on it, World Champ banners, all of that. Do you ever just take a minute to soak it in? Because your career is just stupid.
Yeah. That got me yesterday when I walked in. You remember up until 2016, I was like the Cinder, like nobody, I was the one guy that pretty much what Doug Coletta was this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
I
like
was
the bridesmaid.
Yeah, and I got so tired of hearing about it. And then we won 16, then we went boom, boom, 21 and 22, and it doesn't seem like it happened to me.
I ask this in all of y'all's, especially with careers like yours, but I've lived it on the side where I get to witness it. I'm truly blessed. Y'all are blessed where you get to get in this thing and now you own it and you have all these employees and something cool. But my view, I think, is more special because I get to witness people like you go through milestones and go through these amazing things in their career that you guys are living. And it's hard to absorb it when you live it. And so I really try, and especially with my sister, but through all this stuff at Flow where I'm getting to know you guys as drivers, like slow down, shut up and think about it. Like your indie thing last year, like big hits of your career. If you had to just right now, top 3 kind of thing, that's got to be on there, right?
Yeah. I mean, Don Pernome, I talk to him weekly, and he will tell me every time. He's still blown away by that weekend.
I cried, and I'm not even like a part of your thing.
Thank God we have TV and we have social media to look back at those moments, because I can go through my phone and pull an Instagram up of that weekend, and it instantly pastes me right back to it. But I don't, until you just brought it up, I don't think I have an Indy winner.
Yeah.
How about 2 years in a row? That was the other thing. Before the championships, I hadn't won Indy ever, and people were like, oh, you're going to be the one guy that's never won. Well, then we reel off 2 of them and then do it with Dom Prudhomme.
Getting people to tune in and invest and love our sport like we do, those are those moments that they get to witness that you don't see. You're in your car screaming by yourself. We're loving on each other about you.
Like Flo, I watched Turkey Night. I love those stories, and I love the behind the scenes stuff and hear what those guys are thinking and what their approach is. They did a great piece with somebody on slide jobs the other day on Flo, and it was cool because you wonder, you watch it happen all the time, and if I got slid job, is that a word, slid job?
We made it a word. Ron Cap said it, it's a word.
Yeah, I'd want to get out and fight the guy. But those guys do it constantly back and forth, so I always wondered, and that piece kind of went behind the scenes and told me what is in their brain. So I'm still blown away. People want to know what's in my brain sometimes.
Let's, I want to come stand by your car and kind of talk about some non-drag racing stuff. So you just mentioned it. You watch Flo. You're into other kinds of motorsports. We saw you this year going out there with Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
Talk about your other interests in motorsports.
Growing up, I was lucky. My dad, his main sport was drag racing. It was weekends, like you growing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was something we did as kids. But my dad also was like a local hotshot engine builder, guy that could set up cars, different cars. So our garage always had different race cars in it, and there were times when it had IndyCar, Lola, Can-Am cars. I mean, I had a cool childhood to hang out with my dad, so I was always into a lot of different racing. But dirt, I loved. He would take me, help guys with sprint cars and super modifieds. So we got to go to the dirt track a lot, and I always loved it. And I never would have gotten a chance until I became a driver for Dom Prudhomme. It opened doors for me. So all of a sudden now I'm with Selzy and we're running Chili Bowl, and we're running around and I'm racing, charity dirt events with Tony Stewart and Casey Kane and a whole bunch of guys. That really got me going into that part of it. And then driving Tony Stewart's Prelude to the Dream for all those years. I was the only drag racer until the last couple that Cruz came in. So I've always loved that. Anytime I'm home, I'll flip on Flo, I'll see what race is going on, or I'll check Instagram or Twitter and find out what's going on. USAC Midgets is probably my favorite thing to watch. And of course Outlaws and High Limit and all that.
I like your personality. You like the kind of rough and rowdy of what they've got going on there.
And then getting asked to do the SRX was just, watching Paul Tracy run it, and then they sort of got kicked out of it for wrecking too much, and I'm like, man, if I got a chance to just go, and then all of a sudden the phone call came, and it was like, oh my God, I get to go, but represent drag racing too. And then, oh, by the way, I get a message from Stewart that I'm starting on the pole. I'm like, no. I mean, first heat in front of God in the world, I'm going to be on the pole with Bobby Labonte on my outside, and guess who was behind me? Smoke. And I'm like, I was just pleading with him, don't wreck me. Yeah. So I led for 6 laps, and I imagine there were like bees behind me ready to pass me. I watched the replay and I was hanging pretty good for a while, but I could hear smoke, and then he did the slide job on me, so it was fun.
That's another one of those things where I think you don't think about much like this is, I was sitting at home on my sister's couch. We were flying to Topeka that next morning, and so we're sitting on the couch watching you, and like she has no idea who she is either, right? But she goes, how cool is this? Ron Capps is getting drag racing in front of the real world. What we do is real, and we have a huge fan base and a great fan base, but we're not there. Yeah. We're not to that deal. And like you said, you had the weight of the entire industry of us on your shoulders.
And it was cool. I wish I would have had somebody follow me, because then we leave that event, and obviously we had to all go to Topeka, right?
Yeah.
I'm on Tony's jet flying at midnight out of the middle of nowhere where Eldora is into Kansas. I looked around the plane and we were about halfway there, and everybody's sleeping. I'm like, there's Tony Stewart, there's Leah. I mean, I'm on a jet.
So with all you've done in your career, you still have those holy crap moments.
Yeah, I have to fight the urge to ask him for an autograph sometimes. It's just, he's a friend, but it's just so weird for me. So it was cool. I mean, it was rock star to be on that jet, leaving an SRX race that I just raced, and then land in Kansas, knowing that the next day I'm going to hop in
this thing.
12,000 horsepower funny car that, it was cool to race SRX, but nobody in SRX got to jump in a nitro 12,000 horsepower funny car the next day, which I have done so many cool things, USAC Midget, Chili Bowl, the SRX series. Nothing still to this day compares to this thing. It is the most evil, crazy, unbelievable, out of control feeling race car, and I've driven a lot of different cars, but this thing is the most crazy. I wish every one of those drivers get a chance to hop in for one run in our car. Most of them say, no thanks. They don't even know.
What is it about a funny car for you? Because at your point in your career, you could achieve many things in many areas, but what keeps you going back to Old Faithful?
It's untamable. sometimes you feel like you tamed it, and you get banners, world championships. You know, I raced Top Fuel in my rookie year and then switched to funny car later. But the Top Fuel car, and I'm not saying they're easier, but you don't, there's not much that you do. You don't steer a whole lot. Obviously, you got to leave on time, but there's not a lot of driving. You know, you just kind of aim it and try to keep it straight. And they're out of control feeling a little bit. But this thing, oh my God.
You can manhandle it.
There is not one run where you just felt like, oh, that went pretty good and straight. I mean, any funny car driver will tell you, you don't know when you stage the car if you're going to make it to the finish line between that center cone and the wall without either touching one of those two or something bad like it blowing the body off of it. You just don't know. They're so crazy unpredictable that it just keeps you coming back for more. It's
as
crazy.
Wild as it is, though, and all those things you said about it, this cockpit, which I want to kind of dive into here for a second, that's got to feel like home to you.
It's home. I don't even have to think about what hand goes where during the whole process of burnouts and backing up and all that stuff. Driving the Top Fuel dragster was crazy because you had this monster right behind you. I hated it because you're sitting up there and you're waiting for them to do all the stuff after the burnout, and then some guy comes up and waves you forward and you roll up there and there's nothing in front of you. My absolute favorite part is, believe it or not any of the runs. It's sitting waiting as you're the next car, and the guys are all surrounded, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching everything. I have this huge engine in front of me. All the guys are here, they're ready to start the car, but they're watching the car in front, and I just see their backs. And it's my team, and it's me, and it's this moment before I would imagine a soldier, or before he goes to war and you're going to jump out of a plane or something. It's just this crazy feeling. I really can't hear in my helmet, but when somebody goes, all right, fire them up, and my guys all turn around and just, you know, takes 4 guys to start this thing, that is probably my funnest thing of all. From getting to the track to the end of the weekend is that little moment in between.
That's probably the only second where you get to what we were just talking about, to kind of back up and look at it. This pro race, I want to talk about this pro race here for a minute. What you do in NHRA and the regular world, it's pretty routine. Everything we do, we just pack up like a circus, go to the next town. The circus is breaking loose this time. What are you, as a driver, most excited about for this event? Is it the money?
Yeah, money. But no, I'm excited. I'm a fan right now of what's going to happen. Like, I can't wait. We haven't even come up with a format, right? We really haven't.
We're getting there.
When you watch this, it might be out now as this is playing, but it's going to be something crazy. And we're going to take some street outlaws. We're going to take some other sports and things that they do, and we're going to mix it up and throw it out there. And it might be a fan pick from somebody watching float. We don't even know what we're going to create of who's going to race who. It's not going to be a traditional ladder, right? It's going to be a lot of fun for the fans. So for me, my excitement is around helping build it and putting something on to our fans. It's just different. Sometimes I watch other racing and I go, man, it'd be cool if we tried that. And we're going to really show access into each pit area like you've never ever seen.
You will get to see this at a race in Ron Capps' pit with a camera up there.
I wish I could take every fan inside and go over the conversations I have between my crew chief and I before a run and what he talks about on a computer, because I know there's so many gearheads like my dad who used to race and now has to sit home and has to watch a telecast that doesn't dive into sometimes really mechanical stuff. But I'm excited about really breaking down some of the mechanical stuff and really show what goes on in there that you never would imagine. It's going to be unfiltered, which is going to be unique, but it's going to be interesting to see.
We're the internet, we're not TV. We can kind of do that, but I think that our sport really needs that, and that's why we're doing things like this and getting to know you guys outside of it, because the cars are cool, but in my opinion, the stars are cooler. One last question about the pro race, not in a negative way, but we got a little bit of kickback of going outside of the box. Why do you feel like it's important to kind of break that mold every once in a while and do something different?
I'll put it this way, it served its purpose. The things that NHRA has done since we announced that we were doing it, whether it motivated them or not, there were a lot of really cool things that had come out coincidentally right after we announced it, right? Brand new sponsor for the series, a lot of really cool stuff. Would it have happened? Maybe not, we don't know. In the first meeting, we didn't come up with this event to do that. First of all, we're testing. And we do it every year. And we figured while we're testing, why not make some money?
Throw some dollars.
I mean, it costs a lot of money to run these cars, right? And so why not try to recoup it. And at first was like, let's put on a race and we'll charge money for people to come watch. They'll come watch and put on a cool race. Then we're like, well, let's take it a step further. What would we want to do if we could do our own race? Then all of a sudden, Tony Stewart's in the meeting. We're looking at him like, hey, you got a sprint car series? And then it just started from there with everybody talking about, would it be cool if we did this? Would it be cool if we did that? Antron and me and a bunch of guys that watch Flow were like, dude, one of the best places to watch racing, and it really goes behind the scenes, and a chili bowl and all this stuff was Flow. All of a sudden the next meeting and more, and it just got to be where we're testing anyway. Why not make an event that we want to do? It wasn't to make NHRA mad. It wasn't to take anything away from Gainesville. It's still going to be packed. It's still going to be unbelievable to kick off the NHRA season, but this is something cool. And for me, it's another great event, that a place where we don't go, that I can take Napa Auto Parts, Toyota, and some of our sponsors to a cool track that we don't go to normally. And it's on the other side of Florida, so fans that around the world that can't get to a race can tune in to Flow and really get behind the scenes. And so you can
and
see
if it moves the needle of our sport, big picture, then everybody wins.
Yeah, it's racers putting on a race that racers would want to see as fans. Maybe
I've never sat in a funny car before.
You haven't?
Never.
Okay, now we got to get you in a funny. Let's come around over here. This is going to be awesome. Super simple, and you're not going to hurt anything. I'm going to grab here, the foot up there. You can grab on to here, up,
And then just
step, and just slowly take yourself down. When I get in, I just kind of do this, back in. Super easy, and you're not going to hurt anything.
Oh my gosh.
Get in,
I'm
out.
about to get in Ron Capps' funny car.
It's out of the
10-year-old
way.
Courtney is literally dying.
Now, I know your sister has expressed interest in driving. What if we put you and let you drive it before her? You'd be one up on her. We get you to do a burnout, maybe?
I don't know if I have said huevos necessary, sir.
There you go.
Just a
See?
natural.
You've already done the hard part.
I mean, I did drive a dragster for years, so I can get in. This is amazing.
So the brake is, for years I had a pull brake. Now I have a push brake. Go ahead. That's when I stage the car. I use that. If I'm on fire, I reach up and I pull that to the handle. It lights all the fire bottles off, sprays you, the car. Obviously, it's butterfly steering wheel, parachute button. So,
Oh, wow.
so I actually reach over with my thumb, and I actually hit that about the 750, 800 foot mark, believe it or not. Because by the time I hit that,
By the
the
time they
cord
come out.
comes out, the valve pulls on the cords, the chute pops open. I've gone 2 football fields like that. So I hit it pretty early, believe it or not. Fuel pump, that's the lever there when you stage the car. Obviously a huge gas pedal and a clutch pedal. And there's 13 straps, crotch straps, belts, elbows,
You have a
knees.
13.
13 of them. Now we have these new leg ones that come across here.
Okay.
And that's the view. I mean, obviously you can't see the track in front of you.
Man.
See, that's the other cool thing when you asked about what makes this insane. When I'm staging a car, I cannot see the track surface till probably 700 foot mark, that far out, because of this injector in front of you. Sometimes, believe it or not, I've had runs at night where I've watched the wall and watched to make sure I'm, believe it or not, going 300 something miles an hour, watching the wall to make sure I'm not too far over. And this isn't even the crazy. The crazy part is when the body drops down. Because when it drops down, this all is sealed off, and it feels like you're in a coffin. It is the weirdest feeling.
This is amazing.
And you got the tires right here, right next to you. You try not to think about that. But when the body's down, it seals. You don't see that.
Okay.
In the warm-up, you see it because they're
spinning.
Yeah, they're spinning fast.
I'm sitting in Ron Capps' funny car. I used to wait in line for your autograph.
I remember you girls coming up and just, yeah. And then the movie came out, and then here I am with my daughter loving your movie, and I'm like, well, I know those girls that come up to my trailer all the time. So it was very cool watching you guys grow up. Very
Thanks. This is amazing. This has been amazing, Ron. Thank you so much for letting us come into your shop, get to know you a little bit better so that our Flow Racing viewers can get to know Ron Capps before, but I don't think I'm leaving. I think this is where I live now.
You can stay. We'll put you to sleep in here.
I feel like you could. You ever taken a nap in there while you're waiting on a roll down?
Yep.
Okay.
And I've had to tell my guys, wake me up before we started.
You think you know Ron Capps. You do not. But now you do. Come Flow Racing. Thank you so much, Ron. We
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Anytime.